you can structure the verbiage where it would lean toward taking some stats from the community, because libraries are to, traditionally, libraries were to follow the traditions of the community. So for instance, we wouldn't be having this conversation if we were in Richmond or Charlottesville, but we're not in Richmond or Charlottesville, we're here in Appomattox. And like you said, the stats, and I think you're low with the 70%, but I think that is what we need to look at. I know personally that I have been already, and I'm only in this for a few weeks, already people have come to me and telling me that they go to Rustburg, they will not go to Appomattox. I want to change that, but I need to address their concerns. So we really want to address their concerns without putting ourselves on the chopping block, because this is a volunteer position. We're not getting paid. So why would we try to help the community at our own peril when so much of a percentage looks at us to say, well, you know what, we want certain things. We want to research. We want an academic environment for our children. We don't want romper room. We want a library where the children can come and learn and read and research, and where adults can come as well. So that's what we're looking to accomplish, and we have to do that through the policy.
Yes, policy development is kind of where that kind of sits in. Collection development policy is where those pieces live. In addition to your collection development policy, there are usually kind of requests for reconsideration policy and procedure. So if an individual has a particular concern with a book, then they can follow that policy and kind of put their case forward by, everybody is a little bit different, but it's usually, what is the book? What do you find erroneous with the book? Give me some examples, kind of quote the specific things in there. And then that follows whatever that procedure is of taking another look at that book and making sure you're kind of going through it. And then there's usually a determination whether the book stays or goes from the collection. Now, every library is a little different. If you have community members who are coming to you with particular titles that they are concerned about, please redirect them to that policy and procedure. That helps kind of stem some of those things where you're just accidentally maybe moving a book somewhere else or removing it from the collection, and that kind of helps against, accidentally violating someone's First Amendment rights. Those kind of things, that request for reconsideration piece, that has been in place for libraries for a very long time, even beyond kind of the uptake in book challenges over the past 5 to 6 years. That's always been the case, and anybody from any particular viewpoint can challenge a book. We welcome that kind of conversation because, if there is something you're concerned about, we want to make sure we are being responsive. We have that opportunity to have those conversations.
So if I could, Cindy, I'm trying to go through the chair and be respectful here. We were both appointed to this board because of community outcry. People were very upset over inappropriate materials that did not match the views of the community as a majority. And so we were called in to help resolve the issue, to make sure that the entire community feels safe in our library. And so while we're here in a voluntary position, many of us have other responsibilities and that type of thing, and we don't want to be legally, we want the library here to be what it's designed to do, to be a safe place for all Appomattox County children and anybody that wants to use it. But we're having an issue right now in Appomattox where people don't feel safe. They are not using the Appomattox Library because they don't feel safe bringing their children here, because in their mind, in their opinion, and everybody has a right to their own opinion, that there are inappropriate materials that being put in a children's section of our library. Whether we agree with that or not but that's, the community is saying, we don't want these books in a particular part of the library, so.
Where it's accessible.
Where it's accessible in the hands, and we've seen legislation put forward for a pause, parental advisory warnings, which was rejected by the General Assembly. We've had different opportunities to put the warning labels on there so that parents can make a more educated and informed decision, but that was rejected by the General Assembly. So what do you recommend? How do we solve that particular situation in our particular library where we are trying to respect all the rights of all people in Appomattox, where they all feel safe, not just a minority of the population? How do you, as an expert librarian, director, propose that we meet that challenge here, particularly in Appomattox?
So I don't want to make necessarily full-on recommendations. That's not my role. And how the library operates is determined by the locality. However, I am always of the opinion that you want to try and leave things broad. Again, it's kind of harkening back to some of the founding principles. We are a place where there is access to information, where information lives. The library does not operate, the public library does not operate in loco parentis. That is not our role.
But you're putting books in a children's section of the library. You're putting adult material, there should be an adult section.
I think
And,
that she's not
She's not yet.
I
She's
think
not.
Okay.
we can get on past this point.
we can't
Talk
get
about
there.
that as a
Okay,
Yeah, we can-
all right,
we can
I
do this.
apologize, I'm
But I
new.
think, just so everybody knows, and I'm sorry, I did print out the Miller, I think the Miller, test is pretty good, and I think we should look at that, because there are a couple of things in there that that would solve some of the issues. All right, go right
Thank you,
ahead,
I
thank you,
apologize.
appreciate it.
Okay. I mean, I'm happy to answer questions, but you're starting to kind of get into things where I'm like, I'm not,
We can,
it's more local control, the conversation's there. And I always, I'm somebody who is like, the collection is the collection, and we trust our patrons to decide for themselves what they want to read or not read. And I understand that everybody has a different viewpoint on this, and I respect the fact, and I love the fact that we're having this kind of conversation. But I don't want to say, you should do this or you should not do that. I'm just trying to provide, these are pieces that are important to know about as you kind of work through the various situations that might be occurring in your community.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And apologize.
I'm going to kind of move through everything else here then, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. So, just alerting you to what these cases are, not yay or nay either direction, but these are just cases that have come up. So in the case of the Bergen v. Crawford County, that began also in 2023, there was a board action, again, that directed the librarian to move books from the public library, any books that had the LGBTQIA+ themes, to what they called a social section. This included picture books and YA books. The board itself was sued by library patrons, and that district court granted the summary judgment to the plaintiffs, holding that the removal was unconstitutional because it places a burden on the patron's First Amendment rights, that barriers to access piece, and rejected the argument that library collections govern speech. In that case, in April of 2025, Crawford County had to pay over $118,000 in fees and costs after losing the case. The county voted at that time to have the entire library foot the bill instead of the county footing the bill. Instead of using the county's general fund for its defense attorneys, that was not a popular move for the community. And that was eventually redone with 70% of that coming from the county general fund and 30% from the first budget. There was a little bit of a question earlier about an individual being sued versus a board being sued. Normally, what we've seen in some of these cases that the board is sued, there's something within your kind of liability insurance as a piece of your board role. I'm not as familiar with that. That would be something that Cindy would probably have more information on, is how that protects the board and your operations of things. Another case is, so actually kind of just taking a look at Crawford County overall and the costs of what it was, kind of handling the two cases. So the total between the two cases actually ended up being $538,966.92 as of what I could find in April. It could be more. because another more recent headline in that April timeframe put the number beyond $575,000. Again, this is just in handling 2 cases. So I kind of give these cases not to be yay or nay the direction, but just to give you an idea of what could occur so that if something does, you are prepared or you have that knowledge. Regarding the Campbell County, Wyoming case, that began way back in 2021. So this is a little bit longer. So there was a criminal complaint that was filed against the library alleging that Campbell County public librarians were engaged in criminal activity by making certain books. In this case, they were those primarily discussing reproduction, sex education, and LGBTQIA+ issues. They were making those books available to young library users. And so the complaint stated that the libraries were disseminating quote-unquote obscene materials. The claim was actually dismissed by a special prosecutor as they determined that the books in question were not obscene and no evidence existed to support the criminal charges. Again, kind of applying the various statutes that we talked about. The quote from the special prosecutor was that the books in question do not, when applying contemporary community standards, criminally describe sexual conduct in a patently offensive manner, and they may have scientific value. Since they were not defined as obscene by Wyoming law, the state of Wyoming cannot commence criminal charges. In that same case, the director was fired in July 2023. The director filed a complaint against the county commission and the Campbell County Public Library Board for workplace discrimination, claiming that her employers discriminated and retaliated against her because of her support for the LGBTQIA+ community. The county's argument was that she was fired due to her performance. In that case, a settlement was reached for a total of $700,000 in favor of the dismissed director.
Jeez.
And at that same thing, in that same case, there was a defamation lawsuit that was separate. So while the criminal charges were dropped, the former library director filed a defamation lawsuit against the family who had originally filed the criminal complaint, claiming that they had engaged in a campaign to discredit her and to pressure the library to remove books. And as far as I know, that case is still ongoing. I don't know that I've heard any outcome from that case. There is one case that's important to note regarding, it's something that upended decades of precedent, and this is from Llano County, Texas. Now, it's still a little bit of ongoing, but in summer of 2021, so forgive me, I'm reading a lot of my notes here. 3 residents met with a Llano County judge about several new picture books purchased. Titles that included like, I Need a New Butt, I Broke My Butt, and My Butt Is So Noisy, claiming that they promoted predatory grooming, and they requested that the judge allow them, the citizens, to approve all future purchases. The judge declined. Normally, anything that's purchased through the library that belongs in the operations section, not by the general kind of public. The rumors were then spread that the library was circulating pornography. Numerous public complaints later, the judge, and now a commissioner, began pressuring the library director to pull certain books in the summer and fall of 2021 under the until further notice or for now, so with no real kind of end date as to when those books may be able to go back on the shelves. In November 2021, a citizen provided a list of 850 books and demanded they be removed from the children's section of the library. A former state representative had actually compiled this list, and the reasons given mirrored various language in the new Texas law targeting classrooms. It's important to know that because public libraries are different than school libraries, we operate under different functions. The citizens called the books on the list pornographic books, CRT and LGBTQ books, and wanted them moved to the adult section. The library director pulled all the books and removed them from the catalog. However, in the end, in going through everything, only 17 titles were fully removed. In that whole time frame, Llano County also suspended access to the digital borrowing service Overdrive, specifically because that service is those kind of ebook services. We don't control what's in that collection, so we can't remove specific titles. The vendor controls that. County commissioner then replaced several members of the advisory library board with those who were in favor of book removals. That was a move intended to, quote, balance the group. In January 2022, the commissioner instructed the library director to send a book purchase list to the board for review. This is, again, we're getting a little bit into the weeds of things, and it's not 50,000 foot level. And then in April of 2022, 7 library patrons sued the county, the library director, and 4 members of the library advisory board, accusing them of engaging in viewpoint discrimination. So, as of 2025, so all of this kind of the bigger pieces happened last year, the district court issued a preliminary injunction granted that the library board had to return the books to the shelves. This was appealed to the Fifth Circuit Court. Now, the Fifth Circuit Court covers Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. The Fifth Circuit panel, so three judges were randomly assigned to the case. They kind of affirmed that preliminary injunction that the plaintiffs have a right to receive information in the library. Viewpoint-based removal is unconstitutional, and the library collection is not government speech. This motion was actually vacated by the majority of the judges at the Fifth Circuit Court. So even though 3 of their colleagues said, we affirm this, a majority of them said, no, we're looking at this again. So there was a petition for an en banc, I don't know how you pronounce that exactly, rehearing that was granted. This is where a session where all of the judges of the court sit to hear a case. So in the case of the Fifth Circuit, that means all 17 judges. The decision came down in May of 2025. It was a kind of a bigger deal overall because it reversed the panel's decision. So it was in a decision of 10 to 7, stating that the plaintiffs cannot invoke the right to receive information to challenge a library's removal of books. This is contradictory to all precedents known. They also indicated that a library's collection decisions are government speech and therefore are not subject to free speech challenge. Again, contradicts all precedents, and somebody who's not a legal, doesn't work in the legal field, it's a little confusing to me that a collection equals speech, because in a library you could have 2 books sitting right next to each other on a topic that have very different viewpoints. So how can one collection equal government speech overall? I'm not an expert in this. But what this did is it actually overruled a earlier decision from the circuit court in which they held at the time that removing a book on Voodoo, just a general knowledge book on Voodoo from a school, violated students' right to receive information. So they overturned their own precedent and what it meant from 30 years earlier. And their kind of response to that was that it was wrongly decided and based on mistaken reading of the precedent at the time. The dissent notes in this particular decision is kind of interesting as far as their opinion on things. So the dissent notes that this impacts libraries in the states in that Fifth Circuit Court, and they're concerned that libraries could become, quote, propaganda centers with their contents dictated by the political and religious whims of the local elected officials. In Llano, that may mean that there will be no books discussing LGBTQ characters or acknowledging a country's history of racism, but in other places that may mean that there will be no books about Christian values or celebrating conservative politicians. No citizen should be happy about a decision that lets their government remove books with the current political climate. And so as of the end of December 2025, this was actually, in September they did a writ of certiorari, I never pronounced it correctly, to have the Supreme Court hear the case, but in December the Supreme Court said no. So at the moment, that decision in the Fifth Circuit stands for Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. I've been talking too much. And so these states now no longer have the same full range of First Amendment rights that every other state does when it comes to these kind of things. Taking a look at the case in the larger component, Atlanta County, Texas spent over $270,000 worth of taxpayer money on legal fees to defend its decision. And that's kind of from October 24. I wasn't able to kind of find any more recent information on that. The library was also required to defend itself against a wrongful termination lawsuit by the librarian who alleged she was fired for refusing to remove books. The library paid her $225,000 to settle the lawsuit. And then this is all from a small rural county library whose entire annual library budget is around $450,000 total. So even within, or outside of not monetary damages, you have frayed community ties, neighbor against neighbor type thing. There was damage to the public library's reputation. there was harm to staff morale, physical and mental health, and at the time, I'm not sure if it's still the case, but at the time, there were no new books purchased in about 3 years. So, again, not saying whatever the board decides to do in your own community is your decision, but I do like to just have these cases be known because these are directions that they can take. So now we're just really into that final thoughts. And I know kind of moving through that last section can be a little bit depressing. So I do want to try and uplift things a little bit more. So some final thoughts when it comes to all of this is that your library is an ever-changing entity, right? It needs to kind of grow and change as the community grows and change. So some things to keep in mind when you are moving forward as a board member is to think about my aspiration for my library and its community are. The challenges we face in reaching these aspirations are, and then the changes needed in my community to reach our aspirations are. So keeping those three things in mind will kind of help you keep that 50,000-foot mindset and will hopefully serve you well as you continue to move forward. So I do have some resources here. Some of them kind of mirror what we talked about before, but I am conscious of very much kind of over what I would normally do for time. But are there any other questions?
Not here.
Not at the moment.
Okay. Well, then ultimately, thank you. Serving in the role of a trustee is not an easy role. There's always a lot to balance. And so if you do have any other questions, you can reach out to me or my contact information is set on the screen, or you can send something to Cindy, however you would like to do it. But thank you for the opportunity to speak. It was wonderful to kind of hear a lot of the conversation that's taking place in the community there. And again, if you have any other further questions, please let me know.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go ahead and sign off now.
Bring the light on.
Oh, God, last call, I'm sorry.
We'll get turkey
Old
heat
habits.
on. Hey Neil, how you doing?
Hey, doing well, good to see you.
See you.
Amanda, nice to meet you.
Alright, so within this binder that I have given you, the very first tab is our policy manual. In the folder in the front is the Virginia Public Library Trustee Manual that came from the Library of Virginia. The second tab is the agendas and minutes. So the very first page on that is the agenda for today. After that page is an overview of the programming information that we've had for the last few months. And then we have our People Power Our Growth report of how our programming and checkouts and all of that have done over the past 4 years. We have our meeting minutes from May. And then on the back of that, I have the presentation that she just did. Beyond that, I included some paper for y'all if you need to take notes. In the orange tab is the Library of Virginia information if you need to contact anybody there. It also includes Code of Virginia requirements for public libraries and requirements for how LSTA funding works and state funding works. I have a tab for the American Library Association information. It's just always good to have. And at the very end, I have letters of support from our community because it's always good to hear what's going on.
Good stuff about it.
Yes.
Where do you get People Power Our Growth? I'm impressed with that.
So the next thing up on our agenda would be to approve the minutes from last meeting.
May 19th?
Yes.
Did you put this all together?
Mhm.
Wow, she's very thorough. It's a lot of work. very training.
I was just saying, it sounded familiar.
Yeah.
Yep.
It wasn't as warm then, but it's,
Yeah, unfortunately, we've been having trouble with our HVAC unit. In
is that what
fact,
it is?
we had them accidentally blow out the control panel and for our main one today. So, the parts they can't get till tomorrow or the next day. And that's why we have a dehumidifier in here right now too, because it's been making it very humid.
Oh, yeah.
And, all of our paper was starting to wrinkle and that's not good for books. Excuse me. The director's report is the next page after the agenda, because I didn't want us to have to sit here longer than we have to, so you have the director's report of what's happened since June.
Is this what you gave last night?
Well, no, that's slightly different than what I gave last night. What I gave last night is the people power our growth one.
Oh, okay.
And this. Yeah.
Which week do you think was a huge success? Because I know it was a lot putting together the summer reading program.
It was kind of interesting because it stayed pretty steady.
Did it really?
Yeah,
Okay, that's great.
We had one session that we didn't have anybody at. All the rest where we called it back to the library, it was book activity craft sessions, had at least 20 people at them. So, that was 2 times a week and all of that. So they were very popular this summer. I don't know if it's because it was hotter or what, but we did have tons of kids and adults in here for those. The most popular one was the mesh horses when they came in, because we had 88 people at that one.
Oh, wow.
And they are coming back to us in September, where you can read to one of the horses. So, because it's an early release day from school,
That'd be September 16th.
September 16th, yeah.
That is my son's birthday.
Or he needs to come read to a
Well,
horse.
I need to figure out how to get in here because I still have to stay at school. Okay, I'll work on that. I'll figure it out.
There's a black library, you just stand up.
Do you have to pre-register for that?
No.
Okay. And then what was the enrollment for the summer reading? Is that number in here as well?
I left that number in my office. We had 173 with 121,000 minutes read. Yeah. The minutes read this year were higher than last year, but the number that finished was lower. But it was only lower by like 20 people.
Okay.
So, yeah. They read more minutes, but there were fewer people. And those were the ones that were registered through Beanstack, which is what
Yeah,
we use.
I couldn't think of the name of it. I was gonna say Lima Bean Stack.
Do you find there are more kids coming in the summertime or during the school year?
It depends. We get a bunch in the summer, we really do, because we run programs every day. And it's a way to get kids out of the house, and it's free, and it's cool, and we do have so many different things that we do. But we do have a good following that come in right after school.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much every day. The trend that we are seeing lately is Saturdays. When I started, you might see 1 or 2 people on a Saturday. When I was here last weekend, it was constant. And it was families, it was people walking around, it was just constant. So it's picking up. So the next thing, would be the election of the new chairperson. So we'll take over for, I'm sorry. did I-
No, it was me.
Oh.
Paper cut. Do you mind if we do like an introduction to everybody?
Oh,
Because I'm
please.
like the new kid. I don't know everybody, their background, other than Fiona over here. It's up on my face.
Would you like me to start?
Yeah, please.
My name is Cindy Shu, of course. I'm the library director here. I have been here for 2 years. I have over 17 years of experience in libraries, not just public libraries, but academic libraries. I used to be a children's librarian when we were in Florida, and we moved up here, and I went back to academic libraries for a while and then came here. I finished my library degree from Catholic University in December.
Congratulations.
I have now been appointed to their advisory board for the program, and have been invited to participate in several other things with them. Excuse me. Including a IMLS grant that we got to help create training for public library workers that helps them learn how to interact with people for Reader's Advisory. So teaching them how to relate this to that, and do it in a way that public libraries can actually afford the training.
Did you live here in Appomattox?
I live in Prince Edward,
Oh, okay.
but I grew up in Prince Edward in this area, so, yeah.
Thanks for your service.
No problem.
No, I'm not. Neil Sells. I'm just, what have I been doing this now, 3 months maybe? So this is actually, I finally got all the rule work, which is, that makes me very happy. Engineer by background and training, and now with management at PWST. I live in Spotswood and have since 1985, except for about a 12-year interlude there. Anyway,
You're a local boy.
Yep. I am actually. School here.
I'm good friends with that.
Yep.
Oh, so you have stories.
I have a story. I've got a lot of stories.
Amanda Scott, and I'm a come here. I've only been here 3 years. Served in the legislature for 8 years. Served on higher education, Senate Health and Ed. Worked very extensively on education. Homeschooled my 4 kids. They're all grown adults. I'm a grandma in November. I'm excited. I'm supposedly retired, but I keep getting volunteered for things, so I'm told. I get volunteered for a lot of things apparently, but here I am, so I'm happy to be here, but I thought I was kind of done, but apparently not. So
People
it's
just
good.
volunteer us, that's the problem. My name is Paul Michael Raymond. I'm the pastor of the Reformed Bible Church. I'm a seminary graduate. I hold many degrees and I burden you with that. I did volunteer for CASA. I was at CASA for several years. I've been here for 30 years, but my accent gives me away each time. I've established 2 seminaries in Africa. We have one here, and I'm a member of the Association of Christian Librarians. And we have a library, not that it's competitive, it's more of a theological library over at the church. And we also operate a homeschool academy as well. Willing to serve, happy to be here.
My name is Hope Adams. I've been on the library board since 2023.
Sure, you say so.
I'm going by when my email account was set up. I currently am entering into my 23rd year of teaching after trying to resign from it in the spring. And I work at the elementary school. This is my 11th year there, but I used to work at Holy Cross Regional Catholic in Lynchburg before it turned into Centra. And prior to that, I worked in Connecticut, so I taught in Connecticut for many years. Other than that, I have a senior in high school this year, and then the young one you kept saying pop in, who's very antsy, so his dad came and picked him up when he got off work. So,
What grades did you teach?
I'm sorry?
What grades did you teach?
right now, this is my first time doing 5th grade, but I had taught the last 10 years 3rd grade at Appomattox Elementary School. Prior to that, I taught 3 years kindergarten at Holy Cross, 2 years in 4th grade at Holy Cross, and then the rest of my time was served teaching kindergarten in Connecticut.
My mother.
So, mostly
my mother was
kindergarten.
substitute for the elementary school.
Oh, really?
But that's before, you've
Oh.
only been there 10 years?
Yeah, I started there in 2016 when I was pregnant with
Yeah,
the
my
one that
mom
was just here.
Way back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I needed healthcare. That's the only reason why I left Holy Cross. I absolutely loved, I am not Catholic, but I loved Holy Cross. I loved the community that was there, the family. It was just, to see what happened to it after we left, was heartbreaking. But I'm glad we left when we did, because if I had still been there, going through what my friends were going through, it would have been. No, I mean, it kind of coincided actually with COVID, so when the closing of it,
Yeah.
kind of, I guess COVID kind of masked it a little bit as far as like all the emotions, but yeah, I'm back teaching again, and I'm hoping I made the right decision. After being told I could be a stay-at-home mom.
You would have been bored.
I was this summer.
That's wrong.
So, but yes, I don't volunteer as much as this one. She is volunteer queen of everything.
Oh, take it out.
Mm,
I know.
Relay for life, all the things.
Well, yeah. Susan Williams, I'm a retired librarian, public school.
Successfully retired.
Successfully retired. No turning back. Nope, didn't substitute, not gonna do that. I guess I'm the old one on the board. Yeah. Don't shake your head, yes. I told you.
When did you start?
It's one of those things that nobody really knows, and then something happened and something else happened.
Yeah.
So maybe 7 years, 6 years, 6 years. When Diana was here, how long she go?
Sure. 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years, 5 years. Yeah, so I've seen all the changes. What on you?
Anything else?
Thank you. Do you mind if I make a motion for Pastor Paul Raymond to be our chair? Anybody object to that?
If someone else wants to take it,
I do.
you'd like it?
If everybody agrees to one or the other.
I have to recuse.
Excuse me?
I mean, I can't.
As I say, I think the rules of word thing, so I'll second that motion.
What do we second?
Second motion, the first one raised, and if I know
Yes.
that was Pastor Raymond, so, I think we gotta clear that one first, we'll go ahead and second that, I recommend we'll go ahead and vote on that.
So, vote around,
Vote in favor.
All
in
in
favor.
favor?
Aye.
Neil? Aye.
No.
Aye.
That's it.
So I make a motion for vice chair. Susan wants it.
Sure.
I'd second that. You were vice chairman.
Yeah.
I made the motion, so someone
I
has to second.
second.
Oh, I thought I
Yeah,
was
I
second.
second.
I'm sorry.
I
Yeah.
think you were just congratulating.
No.
All in favor?
Okay,
Aye.
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 Very awesome.
Okay, so those were our two big things that we had to do with this one. Technically, at this point, you're supposed to take over.
Mhm.
The next meeting will be on September 15th at 4 p.m. here again.
Can I make a special request, and you can say no if we need to? Go to the chair, I guess.
Go.
Yes, can we have it at like 4:15? Because I get off work at 4.
Oh,
No,
I mean, if that's okay with everyone else, I mean,
it's
Be
Works
good
better
for you
me.
too, yeah, right.
'cause
Is that okay with you? Because I know you've got limited hours or whatever.
Yeah, I can do it 4:15.
Is that okay with you guys?
Susan,
Are y'all
oh.
okay? Just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's it. My job ends at 4, so.
If the three of you want email addresses with the library, I can get them set up. The only caveat to it is it still has to go through your phone because we don't have a web-based program for it. And I will get those set up.
could we set up one on our own and give it to you, and like a Gmail account, or would you rather have it through the library?
If you have it through the library, it says jrjml.org.
I'd
Got
rather
it.
do that.
Yeah, I'd rather do
Sign
that,
me up.
yes.
Given what we just got rid off, yeah, I think we're gonna do that.
Yeah, it
Definitely.
saves you in the long run.
Yeah,
It really does.
Okay, so before, I know you all wanna get home, I have another meeting at 6:30, so, I'm very excited working with everybody. And, nothing changes overnight. It's not supposed to. But we want to do what's right for the community and all of that. detail. So, according to the bylaws, that as we have, if there are any changes to the policy, it has to go before the board, and the board has to review it, and then come back and discuss it. And then we'll decide what you like, what you don't like, what's gonna change, what's gonna stay. When I read the policy, grammatically, there was problems, but that's another story. There was some redundancy, and there was some vagueness. One of the most vague thing was the fact that bi-monthly meetings. So I looked that up. It could mean either every other month or twice a month. So I just stipulated every other month. That's so not here or there. So I'm going to give you a copy of just a few of the pages that I highlighted and read. And what I do, I struck out what I thought needed to be changed, and I put my changes in red. I just added some words. For instance, because this is now not just an advisory board, it's an administrative board. So I added that, and it's just a technical thing. So I'm going to give you each one of these and look at it. If you like it, great. Keep what you like. We'll discuss it when we meet again. And I really appreciate that.
Did you get a copy?
I did not.
Oh.
I think you're really happy.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any other business?
So we'll get back on track. So September,
50.
then November, okay, and then January, okay.
And one other thing, I just wanted to call out too, that I think there's the possibility to call, should there the need arise, if something needs to be addressed, it's gonna take like a whole portion instead of routine business, we can also call a special meeting.
Absolutely.
And, you know, and to meet the needs of everybody.
And anyone could really call at it. I mean, they have to go through me, but we can do it.
So, I guess I have one question that was brought up to me, just, that came up at the Board of Supervisors meeting last night. And that was that, and maybe Cindy can answer this about the, I think we're, is it short, maybe you can brief everybody like $10,000 or something over budget or something?
We were $10,000 under budget for part-time workers. Because in the planning of budgeting, I misjudged how much we needed with the amount of programs and stuff that we had been offering. And I take full responsibility for that. But with the upcoming budget, I went before the board in, I think it was February or March, I can't remember which, and made sure that that money was accounted for in our current budget, so.
And Mr. Chairman, can I ask a follow-up question? So, I guess my follow-up question, are there any fundraisers or anything, how are we gonna, for this year, fiscal year, cause I'm concerned about, you know, the taxpayers having to come up with extra money to offset, cause it happens, I mean, we do that in our own family budget, sometimes we go over, but, you know, we have to cut somewhere else, or what have you, are there any plans, do we need to have like a fundraiser to raise money as a?
ACLA is planning, ACLA is our friends group, they're planning
Okay.
fundraisers, but they are very particular with what they spend money on.
Right.
So they focus on programming and or needs or things like that.
Mr. Chairman, that's
Please,
one more question.
you got the floor.
Okay, yeah, I guess you're the expert here, not me, the whole library thing here, but, in your expert advice, how do you see us making up I'm a finance person, I'm a numbers person, what is your recommendation on how do we deal with that shortfall this year, the 10,000, cause that's already money that's been spent right on personnel, like.
They approved an amendment to it last night,
Okay,
so it is taken care of at
okay,
this point.
okay,
Yeah,
good.
it is taken care of at this point. In the future, it's just a function of watching the schedule better,
Okay.
and I know that. Part of it was that, this library needs to have the part-timers work 20 to 25 hours a week as opposed to the 15 to 20 that they had been working since COVID. And that was where the shortfall came from. So, and it just caught up with us. is what it was.
Cindy, do you have a set catalog that you choose from as far as your book purchases? Or is it just?
I go by several different places.
Can I get a list of those? I've used?
We use, right now we just started with Follett. They give reviews of books and all of that within it. I use, School Library Journal. They have suggestions for books in it. They also give you like information about each book and all of that. I look at, what's popular, like the New York Times things. We usually get those as well. But we look at a number of different sources. It's not just one or the other.
Mr. Chairman, I just got a
Right.
follow-up question. As far as purchases and that type of thing for the library, and forgive me, I'm a finance person, that's my background, so I'm gonna be looking at numbers and leave the rest of you guys, but, do you, as far as purchases, how is the process for making purchases? Is it something where, I mean, sometimes people have a credit card, sometimes you have a certain amount,
It
like
depends
large
on what it
expenses,
is.
yeah, how does that work?
So most of our purchasing goes through the county.
Okay,
They have set up with Amazon a thing where we can go in and order from Amazon. It gets invoiced and then it gets paid through our budget.
right,
So that's what you see at the Board of Supervisors meeting when they approve the, what do they call it? It's the part at the end where they just approve all of it at once.
right,
It's that part. It's part of that, and if you look in it, in the extra meeting notes, it has individually which part of each thing has been spent. Like it has all of that information, what is spent each month. If you know the particular codes, you can kind of tell what it's spent on. I do have a budget by month, what is spent, like books, we spend about $1,200 a month on.
okay.
So, you know, and then programs, we spend about the same.
Is there something like an itemized list that you would have that, like, forgive me, because they all know this and they're bored, they're ready to go home. This is new to me, but, is there something like, when we have our regular meetings, is that something you go over with the board as
I
far as
certainly can.
finances?
That's part of why I created the board report. That's part of what the library report is supposed to be.
Okay, got it. I'm a numbers person, so forgive me.
I have a business background, so.
Okay, awesome. That'd be awesome.
But yeah, some of it is dependent upon what is going on in a month. We also apply for grants, and sometimes we receive them, sometimes we don't, and sometimes they're $500, sometimes they're $10,000,
Right,
and anywhere in between.
right.
So that's where we have had a lot of our programming and stuff paid for this year was through grants. And those grants go, like, they get sent to us and then through the county, but we have to spend them and report back.
Right.
That's where all the numbers that are in these reports come from, is from what we have to track for those grants and for the state of Virginia. So, yeah.
Okay. Ms. Hope,
Yes.
anything?
No.
Ms. Williams?
Good.
Anything else?
Well, I do have one more thing.
No. Come on.
But I'll save it for next time.
Please.
I do think we should talk about, I guess the incident that occurred in the library where we had, that we had material in the children's section. There was a display there that a lot of
That was in 2023.
parents,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna get all.
well, no,
all
I got,
that.
since I've been here,
We haven't had one.
I had people to call me and send me pictures.
We
that
haven't had a display in the children's section.
It wasn't at this,
It wasn't in the children's
It
section.
wasn't in the
No,
children's
Okay.
section.
They moved it. It was moved.
okay.
No,
I
it
remember,
was not.
years ago, it was. they were
Before
fine.
I
Years ago.
started,
Yeah.
they did have
Before
one,
you
yeah.
were here.
Long,
right,
yeah,
right.
long before you were
Yeah,
here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was around the good.
But
Yeah,
mine,
because
since I've been here, there's not been
Okay,
one in the
good.
children's
I'm
section.
glad to hear, because I understand the law and how that works and what has to be here. But I'm also aware of, like, you know, what the publisher recommends as far as suggested age and making sure that age appropriate books are in the right sections, and I know you're on top of that as well.
Actually, since you've been here, you've done quite a bit of weeding out a lot of
Yes.
books.
Good.
If a book doesn't get checked out in 5 years, it's gone. And we have weeded, I think fiction just got finished. We're going back through children's right now.
Cause that was a huge one to
I
begin
weeded,
with.
one time I pulled 900 books out of children's because they hadn't been checked out, they were looking rough, or all of the above, so.
30 years ago, when we moved here, I donated 10 books to the library.
Mhm.
They're still here?
No.
Oh.
I bought them all back. And they weren't checked out. No, they were historical, somewhat, educational, Christian, educational things, but, yeah. Anyway, I put them back.
Unfortunately, the
And they were
downside.
paperback, some were paperback, and you don't hold them too long. The hardcovers you keep longer.
Hardcovers stay longer.
Yeah,
The downside is that library books have a shelf lifetime.
yeah, no.
And, you know, we only have a limited amount of space, so we have to be careful what we
I hear that.
put on that space. And there's room requirements for if we wanna keep mold and mildew out of our books and all of that. So like a 36-inch shelf can only have 24 inches of books on it, so that air can flow around it. That's why we also have plants in the library to help keep down the mold and mildew, because
See, I'm just-
pothos will take 75% of mold out of the air in 12 hours. So that's why you see plants here.
We have 11,000 books. I have a personal library of 11,000 books.
Then
I'm
you
gonna
need
put
some
some plants.
plants
I
in
need
the
some
library.
plants.
There are
44
five-
inches of books per shelf now.
That'll never happen. Anyway.
And there are 5 different plants that will do it. It's peace lilies, pothos.
Peace lilies, mm,
Those are the 2 that you see the most.
yeah.
Spider plants do it, you know, ivies do it, but the pothos and peace lilies last best in dark spaces.
And patrons.
Yes. It also helps with the patrons.
But you've also done a great job finding organizations that the books that are being pulled are getting donated.
Yes, we donate
So-
them to the veterans hospitals, we get them to little free libraries around here, we have our own little free library out here, we're getting ready to add a blessing box on this side, that's what that stack of stuff right there is.
We need to get the young people to read.
And
They've gotta read.
That's a challenge for
that's the
girls.
challenge of everything, because as soon as they hit middle school, they're kinda like, whatever.
Well,
I've got a
that-
middle schooler, I know, I've heard no end to it. You know, and that's why we're having these programs, like I do a Girls Who Code, so that we learn things that are not just technology, we learn how it affects our everyday lives. But that gets them in the door. Then we're like, look at all the books, you know?
Right.
So yeah, it's balancing out that, because in elementary school, kids are all about all the books. And then you hit middle school and they just kinda like, nope, we're done.
And in Virginia, we just have the Chromebooks, there's no actual books.
Mathematics,
We have
it's
textbooks.
changing.
We have
Yeah.
textbooks.
Yeah,
It's fun.
actually, this is the language arts book.
Hopefully
Got
the
my
teachers
homework
bring
this
it.
evening. This is the teachers. The kids is smaller, but yeah, we have books, we have workbooks. Even the new math curriculum is Kidum, and that doesn't have a textbook, but it's got, I want to say for each student, there's 4 to 6 workbooks for the course of the year. The program's not really up to Virginia standards, but I did not approve it, so that's somebody else. But yeah, we do have books,
Good.
plenty of books.
I'm gonna say, the county actually just went through, the county schools just went through and did a strategic plan for the schools for the next 5 years. It is online, it's fascinating to read about what they're changing to address things like AI and technology and stuff in the classroom, along with focusing on hands-on stuff. My daughter this year has been writing so much,
No,
and I'm like,
good.
thank
Very
goodness,
good.
because that's how you remember things.
And to be honest, they don't even take Chromebooks home anymore at the
No, they
younger
don't,
grade
they
levels. The Chromebooks are in the classroom. Each child has a Chromebook, but to the capacity that we're using it, it's more for testing.
Mhm.
Which, yes, paper tests are not a bad thing. I actually prefer those. But if you do paper tests all year and then you give them the SOL test, which is the one that counts towards accreditation, and it's on the computer, they're not prepared for it. So it's finding that happy
That
median.
balance.
Yeah, the balance.
I don't, paper and pencil in my classroom, that's it.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Alright,
Yes.
see you guys
Thank you so
September
much.
15th.
Thank you for putting this together and your service and your work. Is this for Austin Kate?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, we're leaving something on the table.
I was gonna say, everybody needs a good book bag. That's
Right.
Here's mine. Here's
I
mine.
have my own. Mine has
Another one.
Do you have any book bags right here?
My wife would never let me down if I had the opportunity to get one of these tote bag things. I didn't give it to her.
I mean, you can't miss this bad boy.
You'll never lose it.
Thanks. I lost my water bottle.
There heard that.
Will do.
You ride a bike too?
That's my brother. No, I tried it when I was
No,
riding the
no.
road when I was in
Look at that
like
timing.
15 or 16 years old. We had a dirt bike.
Me too.
And I was
I had
like,
it.
wide open across the bottom field down there, and someone had taken a sidebar,
Morgan, are you
like
there?
a sidebar mower, and mowed over the drainage ditch.
Oh,
So
hey,
that
I'm
the
getting ready to
level
go to a
went
meeting,
field,
can I call you back?
and all